Hey, deserving listeners, it's time to continue our journey with Nicole and Azan on 90 Day Fiancé. My name is Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist and a professor. Let's watch the show and see if anything of interest comes out of my face.
Please just stop, because that's iterating. I don't know how to say it. Never, never,
I am Mae's mother. I may be your fiance, but you need to understand.
Okay. Come here, take this. Take me. May,
About to be done.
May, come here.
Being the first day that I'm here and Azan's already thinking he could just tell me to shut up, this time he's really going to learn quick that that's not what he can do, especially when it has to do with my daughter and what's good for her.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's hard to know what's really happening there because we're only seeing edited little snippets. So on one hand, maybe what's happening is that Nicole is asserting herself in a healthy, ethical way because she's the mother and Azan is trying to dominate. That's Nicole's point of view, and I think at least I would agree with Nicole's stance on that. She is the mother. Azan is not the technical stepfather yet, and even if he was, there would be, in my, when I usually work with families, there's usually a ramp up of the step-parents' responsibilities, eventually maybe getting to 50-50 or 45-55. But definitely on the first day, we wouldn't say that Azan would have 50% control and 50% say in what happens to Mae. My dog's barking. I don't know what he's barking at. Maybe a squirrel, maybe a rabbit. And so on one hand, maybe that's what's happening. The other hand, maybe what's happening, and both could be happening at the same time, is that Azan is saying to Nicole, hey, don't yell at me. But the problem is that unless Azan says, look, Nicole, it's okay if you have feedback for me. It's okay if you want to tell me something. That's great. But could you use a different tone? Could you try not to be so exasperated when you say those things, because it actually hurts my feelings and it makes me feel like you don't trust me, and you can trust me. You can just tell me. There's something about when partners do this that is very difficult for people to take. So let me try to role play it. So you're in public and you're with your children, and the wife turns to the husband and says something like, will you please help me out here? Okay, so that was a role play. And that, and let's say the husband wasn't being very helpful. Well, and the wife says, can you please help me out here? Okay. So in that moment, there is perhaps a very valid request from the wife to say, like, hey, could you help me out here? And because the husband isn't helping or isn't pulling their own weight regarding the parenting responsibilities. And by the way, there's a big problem in our language in Western society of men help with parenting while women do the parenting. Anyway, so I want to stay away from that, of course. But so there's a lot of different ways to say that, right? If you say it the way I role played it, the husband, it's going to hurt their feelings in a lot of ways, and that's going to make them angry. They're going to get hurt, and they're getting angry. Why are they hurt? Well, the tone is hurtful. It's just like, whoa, yeah, that's really an aggressive tone or a very angry tone at me. I feel like I don't deserve that much anger. It also is domineering, which hurts people when you dominate them. When you make a command, it usually will hurt them. It's just like, geez, I'm being controlled. Well, what do you do when you get hurt? Well, often we turn to secondary emotions. We get angry back, and we say like something, then who knows? The sky's the limit in terms of all the different dysfunctional ways a husband could, return the ball over the net, if you will. If you were using tennis as a analogy here or metaphor. So there's nothing wrong with maybe Azan saying like, look, I don't mind you saying those things to me, but can you change a different tone? But that's not what Azan typically says. What he says is, don't yell at me. Don't yell at me. Don't yell at me. So I don't know if that's a great way for the two of them to begin their journey trying to parent Mae together.
I am Mae's mom, and I just need you to listen.
I know, but
Even if you know it.
yeah, I understand. Just something, but sometimes she wants something.
I know, but that doesn't mean you have to give it to her.
Last time I was here, he would tell me to like shut up or say something mean and rude. That was one of the things he had to, work on. I don't want my daughter to grow up and think that's okay to be talked to that way, A father should set an example for what his daughter should look for in a man. And that's what I want, him to set for May.
That's one way of putting it. Another way of putting it is that May does not benefit by seeing people fight around her, particularly her mother with her potential stepdad. So that's one thing, is to argue about parenting in front of a child does a lot of bad things to the child's development. One is it worries the child. Even if they're that young, they know something's wrong here, and that scares them. It just kind of creates fear in them, right? It makes the secure base, the safety zone that you're trying to create for the child, it makes that not so safe. And where can they go? When they're at the park and they get afraid of a dog, they run where? They run to you. Why? Because you are the safety zone. You're the secure base, as Bowlby put it. So if the secure base becomes not so safe anymore, and it's also a source of difficulty, then as a child, you don't have anywhere to run. You don't have anywhere to turn, and you're scared, you're concerned, and that affects the brain, and it affects your working model of self and others. It affects the way you see other people and the way you see the self. So there's that. The other thing that it affects, the other issue here, is that there's nothing wrong with having a debate about parenting. Parents should have debates about the way to parent kids, unless you were just blessed with a kid who's just extremely easy to parent, which some people are blessed with. But most kids and some parents really suffer with difficult kids. And so debates are good, but you have to do them away from the child, preemptively, sometimes postemptively, and you got to work it out, and you got to develop a plan together so that the next time it happens, you are both on the same page. And I have had this conversation so many times with parents. And there's just this notion out there for a lot of people, I don't know. I mean, I think most people agree that parents should at least mostly agree about how to parent their children, right? And no two parents agree on how to parent a child. It's just never the case, particularly when there's a difficult child. When you have an easy child, there's not a lot to disagree on. When you have a difficult child, then any slight difference in your parenting will become very noticeable, and you will blame the other parent. Like, the reason why our kid is difficult is because you're too nice, or you're too strict, or something like that. And in my experience, I have seen mediocre parents be blessed with a very easy child, and those mediocre parents think they're the best parents in the world. And I've seen wonderful parents with very difficult kids, and those parents believe they're the worst parents on the planet. So there's just a lot of different factors that play into it. I mean, anyone who's seen a 1-year-old child, or seen more than one infant, knows that infants have a personality. They have a disposition. They don't have their fully formed personality at all, but they do have certain things, certain dials that are turned up, certain dials that are turned down. This kid is very active. This kid is very mellow. This kid cries a lot. This kid laughs a lot. This kid likes to run around a lot and jump off of things. And this kid is very careful. This kid is very mischievous. This kid is very helpful. There's just a lot of different things that you'll see right away in kids, and they become accentuated or attenuated by their environment. But anyway, so I wonder if they're going to be able to have this conversation. They're not having a good conversation yet, and in the past it would, I would predict that this is going to be bad for the two of them. Bad is a simple word, but that they're not going to navigate it very well, because they, in the past, and they're doing it right now, they're vying for dominance, which is not the way you need to parent. That's not a helpful way to parent. So both of them are, what she is saying is like, I'm the mother and you're going to listen to me, which is kind of valid, but she needs to follow that up with, I want your input and I'm willing to listen to you, but let's have a conversation later after we get May down to bed. Let's have I want you involved, stepdad, future stepdad. I want you involved, but not right now. Let me handle it. This is my daughter. You're off the hook in this moment. You know, she does this all the time. Don't worry about it. It looks concerning. She wants her pacifier. You know, it's okay. I've been down this road. You know, take it easy. But instead, what Nicole is doing is like, I'm the mother, back off, and don't tell me what to do. And then he is saying, don't yell at me. And so they're both just vying for dominance, which of course isn't really going to help. So I worry about the situation.
I thought it was a good idea if we go to dinner at the hotel. That way we can talk about parenting. I'm a little worried because if Azan keeps fighting me on these things and doesn't want to listen and hear from me, May's mom, what's best for her, then maybe I don't know if he's ready to be a parent.
Okay, so it started off good where she's saying, I want to sit down with him and talk about parenting. Awesome, absolutely. And then she takes this kind of black and white point of view. I mean, there's some validity there of just like, well, if he's not willing to work with me, I don't know if this is going to work out as a relationship. But I would assume that Azan is open if the two of them communicate well to each other, if they don't try to dominate each other, if they communicate their needs and have empathy for the other person's position, then things should work out.
So did you like the market?
Yeah, it's not like a Marrakesh, but it's a nice market. I know we were struggling a little bit on our parenting.
Yeah, that's really, it's hard to be like a parent, you know.
I know that I was probably getting a little flustered, you know.
So great start. He's like, wow, being a parent is hard. And she's like, yeah, I was getting a little flustered there. So it's a great start. You're taking responsibility for yourself. You're admitting your part in it. You're not like, you were kind of flustered. It's like, I was flustered. And there's a bit of an apology implied there of like, oh, I was a little flustered. I might have been a little harsh in my words towards you.
Yeah, I see it because it's like, because you've been like, I feel like you become like upset or something like for no reason.
You know, when I need to tell you something about May, instead of telling me you know everything, you know, just hear what I have to say, okay?
Yeah, if there is something that I didn't like it, for example, how
something's done?
Yeah.
Okay.
If I didn't like it, I will tell you to not.
Well,
no, that I will not accept like that,
well,
you know?
that's the way.
Yikes. Let's rewind that. So wait, so Azan's stance, his opinion or his way is if I don't like something about the way you're parenting, then that's just the way that it is and you have to obey. I mean, he's not using obey, but maybe I missed something. Let's listen to that again.
I feel like you become like upset or something like for no reason.
You know, when I need to tell you something about May, instead of telling me you know everything, you know, just hear what I have to say, okay?
Yeah, if there is something that I didn't like it, for example, how
something's done?
Yeah.
Okay.
If I didn't like it, I will tell you to not. No, that I will not accept like that,
Well,
you know?
that's the way I parent. So if you want to say something, you know, a different way, or if you think something would be better for her, then we can talk about it.
So 2 thumbs up, Nicole. She is doing everything right here. She's doing exactly what she should be doing right now, which is, yes, I'm open to your feedback, but let's be nice about it. And I'm the mother, and you are the new person into the family. She's not saying this directly, but that might trigger him. What she's saying is, I'm open, and feel free to tell me. I'm totally open. So you don't have to, but he's saying it's my way or the highway, which is, you know, just ridiculous. Any mother in a situation like this is going to be like, no way, pal. She's my daughter. And you don't know anything about parenting. So, you know, if anything, you're like new on the job assistant to the you're the assistant to the manager of the parent. And as I said, I don't know if I said it in this video, I've said it in previous videos, that men are socialized to be in control. I don't know about in Morocco, but often in a lot of cultures, boys are socialized to be in control, particularly over women, particularly in families. And so it's really hard for some dudes to accept a secondary position in parenting, which of course is the rational course of action given the scenario. This is day one of Azan's introduction to parenting in this family. So that's real hard for some men to accept of like, so I have to do what I have to follow your lead as a parent, and I'm only an advisor, and you have veto power over me. Men are taught from a very early age, boys are taught from a very early age that if they allow that kind of thing, particularly with a woman, that makes them basically a woman, which is one of the worst things that men are taught that they can be accused of. Man up, don't be a woman. All the various insults we can think of. And there's a lot of insecure men out there trying to establish their masculinity in some what we call toxic ways. And so let's hope that Azan can see the light and take an advisory assistant position, who has power, who can say, hey, I don't like the way this is happening, let's talk about it, which Nicole is saying right now that she's open to. I don't know how open to it she is in reality. We'll see how that plays out. But at least she's saying that she's open to it. So let's see how Azan manages this.
If I didn't like it, I will tell you to not. That I will not accept like that,
Well, that's the way I parent. So if you want to say something, a different way, or if you think something would be better for her, then we can talk about it. But we should talk about it and not just say like, oh, don't do that.
I feel if she wants me to be like her father, she needs to respect my idea too. That's how we do it in Morocco, I need to tell her what to do too,
Okay, it's hard to know what he meant by that. At least in this conversation, he's like, yeah, so he seems like he's kind of agreeing, which is good. And then in the thing he said about in Morocco, blah, 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 I don't know I guess we'll see how that plays out. So I could see that going either way. I could see what he just said, an indication of like, no, I'm in control. Or I could see him saying like, it's a two-way street where I'll listen to you, you listen to me, we both affect each other. So I don't know, let's see what happens. All right, well, that does it for that episode of Psychology in Seattle, in which we follow Nicole and Azan on 90 Day Fiancé. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.